All right, this is William Dudley with my second reflection screencast assignment on Pauline Gibbons' book, Scaffolding Language, Scaffolding Learning. I'm showing my face this time, not just my hands. I hope that's a positive. I'm going to be just concentrating on chapter 2, if that's okay, talking about classroom talk. The first point that Gibbons emphasizes is that speaking English should not be treated as the poor relation to teaching writing. Can be just as important even in terms, not just in terms of learning language, but in imparting content, helping him learn English to learn content and meaning. And as we have learned in this class, if there's no meaning attached to what the language is being learned, it makes it much harder for students to pick up the language. This chapter focuses on quote-unquote teacher talk, what the teacher says to students and how he or she says it can be crucial. So they have the opportunity to create conversation with their students that fosters both language development as well as learning content. She goes on to list briefly some research-based principles on second language development. So listeners need to understand what the meaning is of what is said to them. They need to use the new language themselves. They need to use their language to stretch themselves, to try to learn how to meet challenges in getting their point across, even if they don't have the vocabulary and grammar immediately at hand. So the actual process of getting meaning across as best they can actually helps them with their language capacity, language capacity. English learners need models of new languages, such as the teacher using academic language regularly. It helps if they can build on what they already know from their mother tongue. And again, bringing it back to meaning, it has always helped if you could learn content and language. I guess trying to say learning content and languages at the same time is best. It not only helps them learn content, again, but it helps them learn the language better. It goes on to talk about different interactions students have with teachers, the IRE pattern, initiation, response, evaluation. So the teacher asks a question, the student gives an answer, the teacher responds. And actually, I was just subbing today for a couple of English learner classes and going through different grammar packets and such, and I found myself doing exactly the same thing. I would ask the students, okay, what do you have for this question? They respond, and I tell them right or wrong, and it's just such an easy, natural pattern to go into. But it's not necessarily the best, unfortunately. The easiest is never the best, apparently. And so we need to have better conversations with students, and she says a bunch of different researchers have given different names to what is more or less the same thing or an alternative to the traditional IRE pattern: exploratory talk, substantive conversation, dialogic teaching. She talks about teacher-guided reporting. These all involve greater richer language, both in what the students input, what they hear, and what they express or what they say. And so some tips or principles on how to have this richer, more dense teacher talk that goes beyond the IRE patterns. Open-ended questions. Questions when you respond to the students talking, don't immediately correct the grammar, respond to the meaning. Slow down. She says not to necessarily speak like this, but rather to give them time and space to listen and time and time to respond, especially when you're dealing with introducing new words and such. And finally, treating students as worthy conversation partners. So give them a chance to explain and clarify their ideas, model respect for others. So don't just cut them off or go to the next person and say, oh, that's wrong, this is the right answer, and then move on. That is not the right model there. And then finally, she talks in this chapter, message abundancy. So when you're providing direct instruction to your students, again, slowing down is part of it, but also you can help students get meaning from your language by words or visuals, physical demonstrations, drawing on prior knowledge, extra time for introducing new words. Again, the video we saw last week, the ancient videotape video with the professor introducing German, either by isolation or with the context of pointing to his Mein Kopf, as an example, I guess, of message abundancy there. The bottom line here is we're not supposed to simplify the content for English learners. We're supposed to amplify it to have them get the meaning.